Mountains Matter. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khush aamdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Herr Agele, ni hao, Chunishumme, Washbale, Ohio, Guzaimas, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifahal, Hale Shumachatore, Ahlan Wasalan Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning. To the very amazing, the very fantastic, the very superb Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you today?
I'm absolutely great, and I almost thought that you were going to call your own name like you always do.
I thought
So
about
how are
it.
you?
Well, I'm great, and I think, I just want to be thankful to Allah Almighty for giving us all the opportunities in life to share what we actually want to say, and we think is betterment for this entire globe, not just for our country too as well, ladies and gentlemen, which is why today we are observing International Mountains Day, and the hashtag is?
Mountains Matter.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll take you back to the history a little bit. So, in 1992, there was a conference going on, a UN's conference on environment and development. And it was then when a lot of people there realized that there's, not a lot of focus being put on the mountains and people, communities living in the mountains and everything, tourism, whatnot. Yeah. So, ever since that particular conference, since 92 onwards, there was a major focus on mountains and development. And because of the rising focus in 2002 was actually called the Year of Mountains. Yeah. And after 2002, officially 11 December is being observed as the International Mountains Day from 2003 onwards all across the globe. And that's because, a lot, it's, a lot of people, I'm so sorry. Please go on with the stats.
Yeah, it's perfectly all right. I'll move on with this with the stats, ladies and gentlemen. So almost 1 billion people all around the globe live in the mountains. Now, when we talk about International Mountain Day, it is very important for everybody out there to actually understand why this day is being observed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think mountains are actually the first ones to indicate climate change and climate vulnerability as well, whereas we talk about the degradation of the mountains too as well, leading into probably where there is food shortages for people who actually reside within those mountains. There are small communities who live over there. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, now what's happening is that due to, lack of food, so out of 3, every 1 individual is actually moving out. So there's out migration as well. Now, when we talk about out migration, what we need to imagine is that, the providence of the services for the ecosystem to be maintained is not up to the mark, and it's decreasing day by day because people are moving out.
True.
So now when people are going to move out, imagine who's going to do the amount of work which they were doing to make sure that the ecosystem stays in place. So I think that, since we're talking about water preservation over here within Pakistan, where they say that in 7 coming years, if dams are not built, there wouldn't be any water for all of us too as well. So imagine that, due to climate change, all of the, water coming down from the mountains, or the fresh water, because they are the actual sources of fresh water as well. So
60 to 80% of the fresh water that is used in the entire world comes from mountains.
Exactly. So that this is what we need to talk about on a policy level as well. And then, for every country, 20 to 30% of GDP is actually generated from tourism too. So I think that inclusively we have to think about how to actually maintain and control, rather than coming down to a point where we actually have to say that in next 7 years, if a dam is not built, there won't be any water. So let's not go down the line that far away too as well. But right now we have a small clip to share with you guys. Go ahead, take a look at this one. And when you guys will come back, we'll actually introduce our guest and ask them what to do.
Wow. For a country like Pakistan especially, which is home to a lot of mountains, and especially we also boast the second tallest peak in the world,
Yeah.
right? So we particularly need to have, perfect policies and reforms for saving mountains and also developing the mountains, structure the communities over there, the infrastructure, the transport system and everything. And to talk about that,
Exactly. And to talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me a link to what I wanted to say. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by some amazing guests who actually, I don't think that they stay at home for a longer period of time because mountains keep on calling them as well. And they still had a flight on the 27th, I just got to know, but they couldn't go because there were a few changes in the policy. So we'll be talking to them. On my right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by a mountaineer himself, and he's hold several different records. We have shown you the video. He's none other than Khanna retired Abdul Jabbar Bhatti Saab. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam, I'm fine.
Thank you very much for joining us, sir. And alongside Colonel Saab, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by somebody whom you might have seen on television while climbing mountains, while being over there as well. He's an adventurer, he's a thrill seeker, and he's that one gentleman who back in 2015 came up with the idea of International Mountain Film Festival. He's none other than Mr. Wajahat Malik. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's lovely to have you. And last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by a mountaineer once again, and she's none other than Masuma Ali Khokar. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Assalamualaikum, walaikum salam.
Walaikum
Good morning.
assalam.
I'm
Thank
good.
you very
How are
much for joining us, and I think I'm going to get the conversation started with Colonel Saab over here. So, Colonel Saab, first of all, how important do you think this day is? And then please let us know about how many different peaks and mountains do we have over here in Pakistan?
Yeah, I'm thankful to you for inviting me on this particular day because this directly pertains to myself.
Yes.
And I'm also thankful to many people who had been sponsoring or who have been assisting, and whether in government or out of government, particularly in relation to my beloved playfield, the mountains.
Yeah.
Mountains are very important in the life of human being. If you look back on the history, right from the beginning, you will see that mountain and human, they had been associated with each other very closely.
Yeah.
Whether you talk of prophets, you talk of messengers of God, you talk of saints, you talk of high level people, they are somehow or the other, they have been associated with mountains. Even you see the first revelation on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that was in the mountains.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, and Musa has to go to mountain to talk to Allah.
Right.
So, and then for living being, your whole water, there travels from on ground, there travels from mountains. It's a life for the human being that travels from mountains down to the plains and deserts, and then make it green and lively. In Pakistan, we have one of the, if not the largest, but one of the largest cluster. Only you can compare it with Nepal.
Yeah.
And it's the largest cluster of mountains in Pakistan. 5 out of above 8,000 meters peaks, those are in Pakistan. And then hundreds of other
Can we
peaks.
name them? Kashabram 1, Kashabram 2?
Yeah, we start from K2.
Yeah.
Then number 2 in Himalayas is Naga Parbat.
Yeah.
Then Gashabam 1, then Gashabam 2, and then Broad Peak.
Yeah, yeah.
There's 5 mountains which are situated in Pakistan. And there are a number of 7,000 meter peaks and 6,000 meter peaks, and you cannot count after that.
Okay.
Right.
So these are in nearly 250 mountains. And the beauty of Pakistani mountains is that is accessible. They are, according to one study I was seeing, I don't know up to how extent is correct, but they say Pakistan is, in next coming years, Pakistan is the most favorite destination for the tourist.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And that we depend on mountains.
Exactly.
Right.
Right, very beautifully said. Now coming on to you, Mr. Wajahat, you've been friend of mountains for so long, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to
I have not been friends of the mountains. I'm married to the mountains.
But other than that, I think that mountains have been very friendly with you, other than Colonel Jabbar Sahab. So, Colonel Jabbar Sahab, would you mind showing your hands to us, to all our viewers over there as well, what mountains did to you, and you still want to go back to them? Please, if you
Yeah,
can.
this nothing. This what I say. These are trophies for me.
Okay. Wow.
In the mountaineering, there are no. These are always with me. Anybody saying what happened? I'm a mountaineer.
Yeah. Very nice. Moving on, sir.
Right, so Mr. Vajad, since you're married to the mountains, I want you to paint a real picture of what the situation over there is, since we do know that the land degradation and everything that's going on in all the mountainous areas of across the globe. So about Pakistan, so tell the people who are watching the real picture of the communities living over there, the conditions that they live in, and what needs to be done.
Well, thank you. The picture that he just painted earlier, and like you said, that there's a lot of problems in the mountains. I mean, things are not that grim. There are issues, and we can go on and on and on. But like I said, first of all, we are celebrating the International Mountain Day. Why do we do that?
Yeah.
So that we should own our mountains, first of all.
Yeah.
We should celebrate them. We should look after them, preserve them. And then, our mountains are the best in the world. This whole system, we have the longest glaciers, we have the highest mountains, fantastic valleys. Everything is beautiful and everything is pretty. But the thing is, when we talk about tourism, there are certain issues.
Yeah.
When we talk about mountain communities, there are certain issues. When we talk about climate change, issues. So, I mean, when we lump all these issues with the mountains, then, this sort of picture comes out that things are not that amazing, and and there are problems, believe me. I mean, I've been to places in the mountains like Borogil Valley once, where I went up and then there was this mountain community living there. I mean, the poverty was extreme, but still they were beautiful people. So when we talk about issues in the mountains, let's start with the people. So there are people living up there. The thing is, when you talk about Baltistan, Gilgit, Chitral, then you have mountains in the west as well, down in Balochistan as well. People are poor because of the lack of infrastructure. So you have a certain road that goes to a certain place, but then it ends. But people still live. People live at the top of the mountains all over the place. So they grow stuff. So they have like fruits, they have like local produce, which actually sometimes is transported down to the plains.
Yeah.
Like you eat a lot of dry fruit, it comes from the mountains. So there should be policy on part of the government that they should come up with things where, things become a bit easier, So for instance, there are these middlemen that go up, they buy all the aloo and all the produce and, very cheaply from them, then they send it down to the markets. So maybe the middlemen should be like eliminated. Then we talk about climate change. Climate is changing, it's very adversely affecting Pakistani mountains and the mountain system. The glaciers actually are receding in the rest of the world, but Pakistan is, I think, the only country where Baltoro is actually expanding. So that's a very interesting phenomenon. So some people so there are like glacier lake outburst floods, like glaciers explode and there's floods and people the infrastructure gets ruined and everything. All kinds of stuff is happening, but the thing is, we have very, very pretty, beautiful mountains, and we should respect them. That's the main thing.
Exactly.
And the government should formulate policies which are more conducive to the people, to the environment. You know what? I actually am from the mountains. I'm from Mansehra, and I travel a lot between Mansehra and Abbottabad and Islamabad. You won't believe this, that there, in between Mansehra and Abbottabad, there is this development work going on where they're bulldozing the mountains, they're destroying the old pine trees. I recently put a picture up on the YouTube and on the social media where they had actually completely bulldozed this really pretty hill with hundreds of pine trees to make an international fast food chain.
Oh,
Can
right.
you believe
I saw
that?
Right.
Yeah. So now, where is the government? Where is the government of Sarhad? I mean, weren't they like aware of what's going on? I mean, we talk about billion tree tsunamis and we talk about mountains and climate change and environment, but when it comes to the ground realities, the state is missing.
Exactly.
So there is, I'll tell you, my hometown, Mansara and Abbottabad, they are destroying nature to come up with plazas, and all kinds of bad stuff is happening.
Yeah, I think that that's
And
very
I hear
correct,
your
and this
producer
is the
saying
right
something that
platform
stop
to.
him.
Yeah, to no, no, this is the right thing to actually. This is the right day, and we need to take advantage of this opportunity to raise awareness amongst people who might not even have been to mountains to see, what's happening. But this is a very valid point. Let me move on to Masuma over here. So now, Masuma, since you're a mountaineer yourself too as well, first of all, I would like to you to tell us about what are the key changes which we make, and you think that we'll probably be preserving the ecosystem of the mountains. If
First
it's
of
not
all,
that difficult of a question, I can change it too as well.
it's a little bit difficult because we are living in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as Wajahat already defined all the situation going into Pakistan, especially preserving mountains and especially preserving trees. I have been in to Galiat and Kohistan. I have been to forest area. In fact, I am living into forest area nowadays, and I myself is evidence that people are destroying trees just for sake of wood, just for the sake of like making furnitures, making the best furnitures for our home, for our best lifestyle, and this is basically the main reason of destroying ecosystem.
Exactly.
Ecosystem consists of mountains, rivers, and
Birds,
obviously
animals.
trees and everything,
Yeah.
animals, everything. We are destroying, if we are destroying trees, we are destroying climate, we are destroying animal living habitat, we are destroying our lifestyle, obviously we are destroying, we are not saving water in fact, because there are lots of landslidings because there are no trees, especially in Galiat and Kohistan area.
Okay, we truly get that. I have a small example for everybody who's out there. This is one documentary which I watched on one of the channels, which is actually famous for documentaries. And they said, so they were documenting that a forest, which was actually on a mountain too as well, and then they were saying that the ecosystem of this forest has been disturbed because there were no wolves in it. So what they did was that they left a pack of wolves within the forest, and all of the birds and all of those animals, they actually migrated back to the forest as well. So I don't know how did it all work, but ladies and gentlemen, each and every individual, each and every animal within the forest or the mountains has a role to play. So please make sure that we do not negate that. But now I want to come down to a point where it comes down to International Mountain Film Festival on the 15th and 16th of December. It is your brainchild, started back in 2015, but what is it all about?
Okay, like we all know, we are one of the best mountain countries in the world. So for a very long time, I used to watch mountain movies, and then I got to know about Kathmandu International Mountain Film Festival.
Okay.
So I always wondered, why cannot we have a mountain film festival in Pakistan, and I really wanted to do it. So I actually traveled to Kathmandu, Nepal, and I learned the ropes there from the Kathmandu International Mountain Film Festival people. I was there with my co-founder, Mariam Chima, and when we got back to Pakistan, we went looking for sponsors to hold the first International Mountain Film Festival in Pakistan. We got a pat on the back, and everybody said, "Oh, you're doing a great job, but we don't have the kind of money you're looking for." So eventually, the Punjab government at the time, came to our rescue. We held the first Mountain Film Festival in Lahore, of all the places, and everybody was, "Why are you doing it in Lahore?" And I said, that's the exact reason I'm doing it in Lahore, because people, if I do it in Gilgit or Skardu, people already know mountains.
Yeah.
It's where people should be actually introduced to the mountains, the idea of mountains,
Exactly.
the films, the documentaries, and it was a huge success. So this was back in 2015. The idea of holding a mountain film festival is to basically educate people, make them aware about mountains, cultures, communities, environment, flora, fauna, wildlife, all that, right? But also the idea is for people to actually know their own culture in terms of mountains and the culture of the world and the mountains of the world. What is happening in the mountains in Chile, perhaps? You know, what is happening in the mountains Andes? What is happening in Alps, right? So what happens is that we show films from all over the world to people, and they look at the mountains from other countries, and they also look at their own mountains. It's how you develop and then you have filmmakers who are into documentary filmmaking. So it becomes a platform for them to showcase their work. It is also a platform for filmmakers who make short movies and they don't know where to showcase them. They can also come and showcase their work over there. And then there's like this whole genre of adventure filmmaking.
So we'll come back to that, but right now we have to go for a short break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys will come back, we'll actually talk about different categories within this mountain film festival as well, and then who can participate, who cannot, how can we do that, whether they're still receiving any documentaries or whether anybody else from the outer part of the world can participate or not. These are the questions. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Stay
Today
tuned.
we are observing International Mountains Day, and the hashtag is
Mountains Matter.
Yes.
Good morning. Stay tuned.
ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇ ਖੇਤਾਂ ਚੋਂ ਬਰਕਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਬਾਬਾ ਮੱਝੀਆਂ ਚਰਾਉਂਦਾ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਏ ਪਾਣੀ ਖੇਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਏ ਹੱਥ ਸੱਚ ਦੀ ਚਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਏ ਨਾਲ ਲੰਗਰ ਛਕਾਉਂਦਾ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਏ ਬਾਬਾ ਮੱਝੀਆਂ ਚਰਾਉਂਦਾ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਏ ਪਾਣੀ ਖੇਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਏ
Wow, this was the International Mountain Film Festival that is going to take place shortly.
On
within 2
15th and
weeks.
16th of
Yes.
December, ladies and gentlemen, at PNCA Islamabad.
Yes,
the man
absolutely.
behind the entire festival is definitely Mr. Wajahat, who's with us. So I'm going to ask a few questions, whether the entries are still open or not, how many films did you receive, how many have you shortlisted? Well, that's something I've seen. And then how would you actually decide who's going to win it?
That's a good question. Anyway, so no, the entries are closed now because the festival is around the corner. We received 880 submissions.
Wow.
So there's a website where
From
you go
all across the
from
world.
all across the
Globe.
world.
Right.
So, and it's a royal pain in the neck to actually sift through those
Yeah.
movies
Absolutely.
to get the right ones. So anyway, so we are showcasing 25 films,
Okay.
and these films from everywhere, from like Slovenia, Germany, France, Nepal, everywhere pretty much. And there were 2 films from Pakistan. So I would like to see more films from Pakistan, but like I said, the idea of adventure filming and documentary filmmaking has not caught up in this country yet. So
Right.
anyway, so the submissions are closed because it's on the 15th and the 16th, and I would like people to come and watch. There are some amazing movies. We've got animations, we've got movies about environment, we've got movies about kids. How should the kids look at their mountains and love them and save them and preserve them and all that. Then there are movies about climbing and all kinds of adventure sports. So it's got a lot of interesting.
And I think this idea can actually be utilized in raising awareness about the issues which we are talking about today, and then we can probably have some other categories where people can film according to those categories and send them in. But may the best winner wins. And who's in the jury? Who's going to decide who's winning?
Yeah, well, we've got a good jury going. But to be honest, my jury looks at the films from a certain angle.
Yeah.
How the film is made, the production quality. Me and my team, like especially us, the hardcore environmentalists. We look at the awareness point of view, the point of view from where we can tell people that please do this or don't do that,
Exactly.
and how the message is gotten across. So we have a jury. I can name a few names right now.
Sure,
Like
go ahead.
Faisal Rahman is in the jury,
Okay.
the film actor. Jamal Shah Sahib
Wow.
is there. Then there is what's his name? That
He's not going to like it.
I know. Okay, let's just.
Okay, so you're in the jury, okay? If you're out there, and if you're watching us, you're a part of the jury. We don't know
So there are a
who-
couple of other names. I'm like right now, it's early mornings.
Perfectly
My
all
head's
right.
not working.
Perfectly all right.
Okay, that makes sense. So since you just mentioned that this film festival is also going to aware all the people about the issues that go on. So let's talk about the issues.
Yeah.
I mean, one by one, let's address them. Starting with natural resources, we've mentioned that there are some immense natural resources in the mountainous areas. So, of course, a lot of people are utilizing them, not only the people living over there. How can we make sure that there is enough for the people living over there and they're not being deprived of the natural resources themselves? I mean, they should get it first before it comes to the outer world, right?
For example, agro-biodiversity. I think that's home to a lot of mountains out there too as well. How do we keep all of these things intact? I think this is what we're fighting for today over here. That we need all of these things to stay intact so that the system keeps on running.
Any one of you?
But sir.
Well, as we have talked earlier, that they are rich in resources. Mountains are rich in resources. They give us water. They give us wood. They harbor animals, birds, and so many things. And so the main thing is to protect them.
Yeah.
From intervention, particularly human being.
Right.
And we have to preserve them, we have to conserve them. But at the same time, we cannot keep them out of bound.
Yeah.
Every creature is for a human being, and human being should be allowed to visit that and enjoy that.
Yeah.
But there are two theories like conservation and preservation. That one people they say, one school of thought says that there should be no entry of human being altogether. It should be out of bound. And there is another school of thought who says no. This is for human being,
Yeah.
and we cannot stop human being to enter that area.
Yeah.
Let's keep it open, but make some regulations, rules, and that human beings should understand. They should be aware that no harm should be done to the nature. Like they say, take only leave nothing but your footprints
Yeah, yeah.
and take nothing but photographs.
Yeah.
So we have to keep this thing in mind, and particularly myself, I am of the idea, I am of the thought that we should not restrict the entry of the people to the
Yeah.
areas. It should be open to all, but under certain regulations.
Right,
Certain,
of course.
and that is where governments, they should come in to
Yeah.
regulate the thing.
Exactly.
Although there are many NGOs, organizations at private level, they are working in the mountains. And deforestation is one
It's
of
a
the
major
biggest
challenge,
Of course, yeah.
threat to the ecosystem in third world,
Exactly.
including Pakistan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like already.
But which is why I'm going to move on to Samin over here. Now, Masuma, what happened, I think that I just came up with this idea that, we people talking over here, sitting on a channel and educating other people. I think people who actually reside within the mountains or on the mountains still have no idea about what's happening to their natural habitat where they live. Now, how do you think that, all of these NGOs or companies working for the betterment of the mountains can actually educate the local communities?
Actually,
And how important it is to educate them because it's their natural habitat.
actually, this day today, the International Mountain Day itself is kind of you can say it is what we can say
जैसे जो
it is
आपको
an
दिल चाहे
occasion.
करें।
It is an occasion that is exactly creating a large social movement
But that
in
too
which
for people who are actually living within the cities or who
Yeah.
can understand
Yeah,
English.
yeah.
How do you think that we people can actually convert this idea into educating people who live within the mountains?
In fact, this is the thing which is bringing all the issues happening inside mountains
Yeah.
on the table this
Right.
day. It's because of I think made for this to communicate those issues.
Exactly.
As so many people, I think billions of people living in the mountain area, and they, in fact, all the human population are depending upon food and water coming from the mountains.
Yeah.
And in fact, the tourism is very much important for mountaineering living inside mountaineering peoples, because tourism itself is creating economical like it's good for economical
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course. Yeah.
issues
Okay, that's
for
great.
them.
Yeah, let me come back to Vajad Sahab again. Now, Vajad Sahab, you travel a lot. You just said that your village obviously is home to a lot of scenic views as well. How do you think you're going to communicate all of these issues to the locals who live on or in the mountains? And they are the ones who will actually be educating all of those people visiting their areas that please do not do this, do not do that, and it's going to damage our culture.
Dude, see, the thing is, the locals are more aware actually.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
telling
okay.
you. We think that just because they're mountain people, they know more than us, man. Because it's their land, it's their habitat. They've lived there for centuries and thousands of years and all that. The thing is, when the urban folk, the town folk, they go up there, when they later, and I'm talking specifically about the issues now related to tourism, and when people go up there, and so there's this like clash of sort of civilizations, the mountain people and the urban lot.
Yeah.
Things are already happening, Naran Kahan, Swat, Chitral, people are now headed more towards Chitral and Hunza, because of the accessibility, and there's the road infrastructure has improved. The locals who live in the mountains, they know, they've coexisted with the nature for a long time. So they have the local wisdom, which relates to the climate, which relates to their agriculture, which relates to the way they live and how they interact, and they have a certain respect for the mountains.
Yeah.
Us lot, when we go up there, but Hisab said, he's from the school of thought that people should go up there, but there should be regulation. See, the problem is, in countries like Pakistan, there are laws on the books, but the problem is implementation.
Yeah.
Like you said, we all mean well, but then the trees are being chopped because there's timber mafias, and there's like housing society mafias, and there's all kinds of people who want to exploit the mountains.
Look,
But
that's correct. That's correct. But now, I wanted to come down to the idea where you said that, okay, people who actually live over there know very well or more than us. But the only problem over here is that they're not empowered group of people who actually can do anything to implement all of those policies. For policy making or for all of these things, I think these things need to be probably dictated from a public institution where people take them seriously as well and give or probably empower the people of the local communities to do better for their own selves.
the
Right.
people in the mountains are educated, especially the lot in Hunza and in Pakistan.
Are they
and
empowered?
Well, they are. I mean, yeah, they actually are the stakeholders, and they should be taken into account. They
Yes.
should be actually. That's where we go wrong. In Pakistan, when you sit and to formulate a policy, you do not take stakeholders on board. You always have these bureaucrats and flanas and tamkanas.
Who actually wants-
the guys who don't matter.
Who actually wants to move to a good place so that
Or-
he can serve
yeah,
over there.
And they don't know
Actually
jack
not
all,
really.
but just because they're there, they are like, around. So the thing is, we need to actually just shun this notion and idea that the mountain people, they're not empowered. Believe me, they are.
Okay.
They are educated, better than us. Especially, if you look at the Akhan school systems, all from Chitral to Gilgit-Baltistan, I mean, the quality of education is really
nice.
much
Yeah.
better. So people are there, they know their mountains, they know the policy, they know tourism, they know the international markets, they know everything. They need to be taken on board,
Oh, yes.
right?
Right.
So how do we bring
Inclusion
them
is
on
the
board
problem
then?
over here.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
I agree with Wajahat. It's not like that they're totally unaware. They are well aware of what's happening around and what they want, what they need to do and what they should do. But there are two, basically there are two factions. People coming to the mountains and people living in the mountains. It's not that we need to uplift the people living in mountains, but not in the way we are uplifting like here. They need communication, some way of communication, but I think not the roads.
Yeah.
Maybe by air. They need their economic health should be raised, and that can be raised if the people go there automatically.
Exactly.
You see, the people from Karachi, Lahore, even domestic tourism, which has gone up, you must have seen for the last few years, it's going up and up and up, and sometimes the areas are jam-packed.
Yeah.
So this is one thing that people are going and they are feeding. In fact, they are spending money over there, and economic health is going up.
Yeah.
This is one thing why I say it should not be stopped.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, government has to do everything over there.
Yeah.
Right.
So now it is that only we should empower local people more, like providing them communication, means of communication.
Okay.
And as I said, not the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should encourage some companies in private sector that they can get helicopter services. Like it's example of Nepal.
Right.
You see, you go on the track to the base of the mountains.
Guest houses
you
and
don't
whatnot, the
Find, you
property,
don't
yeah.
find road. You don't find a road. The means of
And they
communication.
still have all the basic facilities
Yeah,
everywhere you go.
On foot. You go on foot. Or yaks, mules, or by air.
Yeah.
Right? Where they are, then we see, we can say, then if there is emergency, what will we do?
Yeah.
We need a road to reach the hospital,
Yeah.
to reach the city.
Because
But
whenever we have an
it
emergency,
is there.
you know it's
Whenever
hard to
there
find a
is
helicopter.
Whenever there is emergency, any helicopter nearby, it is supposed to pick that
Lady or
casualty
gentleman, whoever,
to
yeah.
the nearest station, and everything is on government.
Okay.
Okay.
They don't have to pay.
Wow. Right.
So they have facilitated the people. You find guest houses there. You find everything like Namche Bazaar. I was astonished. Everything was there.
Very nice. That's what you wanted to add.
Oh, I forgot.
You wanted
There
to
was
add.
something
Oh, yeah,
about
yeah,
government.
that's right. No, no, I think I wanted to tell you about the role of media now, and how we can actually showcase our mountains and
Little bit
own
of
our
schooling
mountains.
for us, yeah, go ahead.
So the thing is, I see a lot of corporate sector companies for their ads and for their song videos and for their whatnot going towards the mountains. I feel that the corporate sector should step in and just not exploit the mountains, but also pay back.
Social
There should be a
responsibility,
payback time. You know, there should be corporate social responsibility. They should, and I think the most important way to preserve mountains, protect our mountains, is to educate people. There is no other way. You cannot punish people. You cannot fine people. There is no way. You know, with a danda, you cannot.
Funny, we
All you
agreed
have
to
to
what I
do
was
is
saying. Yeah, it's good. It's good. But thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely to have you. Thank you very much, Ms. Masuma. Thank you very much, Mr. Wajahat Malik, and thank you very much, Colonel Retired Abdul Jabbar Bhatti Sahab. It was great to have you guys to actually speak about the mountains of Pakistan and mountains all over the globe, and how we can actually preserve and protect and educate and empower people to bring about a change.
Yeah, and you know, just one thing, since we're talking about deforestation and urbanization and whatnot, there's just one thing I fear. I feel like we're going to lose a very valuable part of heritage of Pakistan, you know, the mountainous communities, just because of deforestation and urbanization. And we're not ready to do that, you know, because Pakistan is culturally so diverse, we're not ready to afford that loss. So just, you know, want to make sure that everyone is aware out there, the people living in the mountains and also not, you know, the flatlanders like me, to be actually, to feel like this part of the heritage is actually very valuable and work towards saving it,
And if there's
protecting
anything
it.
which you want to share with the world, please use the hashtag Mountains
Mountains
Matter.
Matter.
Do write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well this morning,
on Twitter,
well this morning without a G,
on Daily Motion and YouTube.
well this morning,
And the fabulous repeat's going to be at
11:05 in the night.
till the next time. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Good morning.